PCem is a personal computer emulator that focuses on emulating PC hardware from the 1980s and 1990s. Today we will create a Windows 98 SE virtual machine on a PCem emulator. Let's begin. First, we will download the PCem software. We will search PCem on our internet browser. This is the official website. Click Downloads. Here all the versions of the software are listed. We will download the current version, which is version 17, for our Windows host machine. The file is pretty small. Let's check the downloaded file. It's an archive file. We can extract it using archiving software like WinZip, WinRAR, 7-zip, or through Windows Explorer. Once the files are extracted, we can delete this archive file. So, this is our PCem software. No installation is needed. Let's run the PCem.exe to run the program. We get an error stating that no ROM is present and we require at least one ROM to use the software. So, it's time to download the required ROM files. We will search for them on the internet. PCM ROMs. We need the ROM files for our version 17 PCem software. This is what we require. PCem version 17 ROMs. We need to download them. Here are the available download options. We will go for the zip format. By the way, all the necessary links are also provided in the video description. The file is quite small and will be downloaded quickly. Let's check the downloaded ROM files. It's an archive file. We need to extract the files. Let's have a look. There are all the ROM files. The next step is to click on one of the files or folders and press Ctrl+A to select all the ROM files and folders. We will copy them. Now go back to the PCem software folder that we extracted earlier. This one. Inside it, we have a folder named ROMs. Open it. Here we will paste all the ROM files and folders that we have copied earlier. So now we have all the required ROM files. Since we have placed the ROM files in the required location, we can get rid of this archive and its extracted files. All the files are in here now. Now let's run the PCem executable again. This time we do not get the ROM-related error message. Instead, the PCem Configuration Manager window has opened. Now we can create our virtual machine. To create a Windows 98 virtual machine, we need its bootable ISO image. So let's download it first. We will open winworldpc.com. Go to Library. Under Windows, we will click Windows 98. Second edition is already selected. If we scroll down, towards the right, we will also find the required serial details that will be required during installation. Further scrolling down, we will find the downloadable files. We need Windows 98 2nd edition OEM full. Click on it. Click on any mirror server nearer to your location. The download will begin. The time to download will depend on your internet speed. Our download is completed. Let's look at it. It's a 7-zip archive file. We will need to extract it. Once extracted, we can get rid of the archive file. Let's see the extracted file. This is our required Windows 98 SE ISO image. Let me place it outside, in the parent folder for better access. We can get rid of this. Now, we have our required Windows 98 SE bootable ISO image. Now we can begin creating our virtual machine. Run the PCM executable. The configuration manager opens. Click this button to create a new configuration. We can give any suitable name for our configuration. Then, click OK. Configure PCM Windows will open. It contains various settings that we can configure for our virtual machine. We will first select a machine that we want to emulate. Here we have a list of some old machines. But since PCM emulates actual hardware, it is very resource intensive. Our host machine should be quite powerful to emulate hardware with good to better specs. Windows 98 can run on a 486 chipset machine. But we will go for a little better machine having Intel 430VX chipset and PGA 321 socket 7. We will select this Shuttle Hot 557. But remember, if we want to emulate a better powered machine, the host machine should be more powerful. Well, the host machine is the machine on which we are creating this virtual machine. Now we will select the CPU. These are the list of CPUs that we can emulate for the selected machine. We will go for a decent Pentium P55 MMX 166 CPU. Let's select memory size. The minimum requirement to run Windows 98 is 16 MB. But the machine supports a maximum of 128 MB RAM. So we will go with 128 MB of RAM. We can later change these configurations as per our virtual machine's performance. Let's configure the display. These are the list of display cards. We will go for 3DFX Voodoo3, 3000. For speed, we can leave it on default. But, we will go with fast VLB/PCI. Let's see what more configuration we can do for the display device. We will leave it as it is for now. We can enable the Voodoo graphics checkbox. For now, we will continue as it is. Oops, sorry, we need to configure more devices. So this was the display configuration. Let's configure the sound device. We will go for a simple Sound Blaster 16 card. We might need to install a driver for it. We can go for a better one and install its driver. Next, we will configure a floppy drive, CD drive, and hard drive. For the floppy drive, we will go for the general configuration of a single 3.5-inch drive with 1.44 MB capacity. We will select none for the second floppy drive. For CD-ROM, we will leave the settings for model and speed as it is. Now we need to configure our hard drive. We will configure the drive where we will install the Windows 98 operating system. Make sure that here drive 0 primary master, C, is selected. The type is hard drive. Now click here to create a new hard disk. For image format, we will select Dynamic Size VHD. This will enable us to mount the hard drive on our host machine and transfer files. Click on the Browse icon to select a location where we want to save the hard drive for our virtual machine on our host machine. Give a suitable name. Then, click Save. Now we will specify the size of the hard drive. We will give it near about 10 GB. Leave the rest of the settings as it is. Click OK. It says that the drive needs to be partitioned and format. Click OK. Also, check that a other drive than drive 0 has CD-ROM selected. Like this. Drive 1 primary slave is CD-ROM in my case. All required drive configurations are done. Now we will configure the mouse. Here we will select Microsoft IntelliMouse PS2. Here we can configure a joystick if we want to connect one. Here we can configure a network card. For now, we won't. Then click OK. We have our machine hardware configured. We can now start our machine by pressing this load button. We can see that it gives us an actual BIOS start screen. Now, it will not boot up because we need to install the Windows 98 operating system on its hard disk. To do so, click here on CD-ROM menu. Then click Load Image. We need to select the downloaded Windows 98 ISO image file and click Open. Here we can see that it has given us disk boot failure error because there was no operating system on the hard drive. With the Windows ISO image selected on CD-ROM, we will first need to change the boot sequence from BIOS. First, we need to restart our virtual machine. Under the System menu, select Hard Reset. The machine will restart. Press the Delete button on the keyboard. This will take us to the BIOS. Press the down arrow key to select BIOS Features Setup. Then press Enter. Here, by pressing the down arrow key, navigate to the boot sequence. Right now drive A, which is a floppy drive, has the first boot priority. Press the page down button till we have CD-ROM first in the sequence. Something like this. Once the boot priority is set, press Escape to go back. Now press the function key F10, or select Save and Exit Setup, and press Enter. Here press the Y key and press Enter. Now the system will restart. This time it will give us the option to boot from the CD-ROM drive. Using the arrow key, select the option Boot from CD-ROM. Then press Enter. Here we will select the first option to start Windows 98 setup. Press Enter. Press Enter to continue with the setup process. Here select Configure Unallocated Disk Space, and press Enter. Here using the arrow keys, select Yes, and enable large disk support. Then press Enter. Here press Enter again. The machine will restart. Here again, select to boot from CD-ROM, and press Enter. Select Start Windows 98 Setup and press Enter. Now the setup process will start. It has started formatting the C drive of our virtual machine. Since the PCM emulates the actual hardware of the machine, the time consumed to set up Windows 98 on this configured virtual machine will be the same as that it takes on the real actual hardware. So setting up an operating system with a processor having a base frequency of 166 MHz and a bus speed of 66 MHz will take quite a while. Let's change the resolution of the emulator window. We can find it under the video menu. Let's set it to custom. We can't change the size of the window. There is another option. Resizable. Okay, this allows changing the size of the window. Let's try doing the full screen. The shortcut keys are Ctrl, plus, Alt, plus page down. It stretches the screen of emulator to fit the screen of the host machine. Press the same keys, Ctrl, plus, Alt, plus page down to close the full screen mode. Let's try changing the output stretch mode to square pixels. It doesn't look correct. Let's set it to the 4:3 aspect ratio. Let's full screen it. It looks okay now. We will keep the output aspect ratio like this for our machine. The formatting of the drive is completed. Here press Enter to continue the setup process. Microsoft ScanDisk is performing some checks on the drive. Let me fully screen this. Here press Continue. We can see, it is going to take a lot of time to install on this machine. We are going to install the Windows in the C drive. So with the C drive Windows option selected, press Next. Here we can select setup options. For now, we will continue with the typical setup option. Click Next. Here we can select and unselect optional components of Windows 98 to install. We are going forward with the recommended option. Here we can provide a name to our computer. The workgroup is for network-related activities. We do not need it. And last is computer description. Click Next to continue. Here we need to select our location. Then click Next. Click Next to let setup start copying the necessary files. This will take about 10 minutes or so to complete. The machine will restart. Now, we will boot from the hard disk. Here we are required to provide a username. Then click Next. Accept the agreement and click Next. Now it's asking for this. You can put it in if you already have one. Or visit winworldpc.com as mentioned earlier in the video. Then press Next. Here, click Finish. Now it will do the rest of the process for the next 20 minutes or so. Here we need to set our date, time, and time zone. Then click Apply. Click OK. It will continue with more setup processes. Once the process is complete, the system will restart. We will boot from the hard disk. We do not want to put any password. We will cancel it. It has found a new hardware. Click Next. We will select the option to display the list of all the drivers. Then click Next. Here click Next. Click Next. Click Finish. Finally, our Windows 98 machine is almost ready. We get a welcome screen every time Windows 98 starts. We can uncheck this checkbox to avoid getting this welcome screen in the future. Then click Close. We got the sound, which means we do not need to install the sound card driver. This is our Windows 98 desktop window. Let's check My Computer. These are the drives we have currently on our system. A floppy drive. This is our CD-ROM drive. Let's peek inside the C drive. The complete Windows 98 fits into just 335 megabytes. Let's check My Computer properties. We can see the operating system name and installed RAM information. Click the Device Manager tab first, and expand the disk drives. The first on the list is our hard disk, Drive C. We will right-click on it and open its properties. Then go to the Settings tab. Here under the options, we will enable the DMA checkbox. If such a warning box appears, then click OK. DMA is Direct Memory Access. If the device has a DMA controller, it will let the device to perform activities like data transfer between system memory as well as other devices with DMA, without involving the CPU. This keeps the CPU free to execute other instructions, and overall improves the performance of the system. Click OK. Let's check the display adapters. We don't see our Voodoo card. We need to install its driver. Close this. We are asked to restart our system. Click Yes. Our system will restart. Boot from the hard disk. To stop getting the Boot from CD-ROM option, we need to unmount the Windows 98 ISO from the CD-ROM menu of PCM software. This time we did not get the welcome screen that we disabled earlier. Let's check out the system's screen resolution. Right-click on the desktop window, and click on Properties. Here we can change the desktop background. Here we can set Screen Saver. Under Appearance, we can change the default window appearance. Here we can change some default icon appearance and apply some visual effects. Here we can enable the checkbox to view the desktop window as a web page. Under the Settings tab, we can see the display configuration of our system. We can see that right now the highest color setting is 16 colors. The maximum screen resolution is 640 by 480 pixels. We need to install the Voodoo graphics drivers. Let's close this. Shut down our system. To give the mouse control back to the host machine, press the Control plus the End keys. Let's get our Voodoo drivers from the internet. We will search for Voodoo3 3000 driver, because that's the hardware we have added to our virtual machine. We will open this link. 3DFX Voodoo3 3000 AGP WHQL driver. Here, we will download the ISO image of it. It is about 16 megabytes in size. It's downloaded. Let's start our machine. Go to the CD-ROM menu of PCM. Click Load Image. Select the Voodoo driver ISO file that we just downloaded. Then click Open. Boot from the hard disk. Also, since we have now replaced the Windows 98 ISO with Voodoo driver ISO, next time we will not be shown the option to boot from CD-ROM. We can also select the empty option under the CD-ROM menu. Now, go to my computer. We have our Voodoo driver ISO mounted on CD-ROM here. Let's open the Voodoo driver disk. We will run the setup. It will take a little bit of time. We need to restart our system. Now the installation of the driver will begin. Click Next. Accept the terms and conditions, then click Next. Here click Install. It will take about half a minute. Click Finish. Click Yes to restart the system. It will take some time to complete the process. Now let's check the color settings again. We can see that we now have additional color settings. 256, high and true colors. We will set it to true color. We now have better screen resolution than just 640 by 480 pixels. And we can set it even higher. Then click Apply. We should restart the system to apply the new color settings. But for now, we will apply it without restarting. Click OK. Click Yes. Click OK. Well, it does look too small, but we will change it later on. Let's check in the device manager if the display adapter now identifies my Voodoo card correctly. Yes, it now displays 3DFX Voodoo3. Let me quickly look at the sound. Yep, it has automatically identified the Sound Blaster 16. Let's open the DirectX diagnostic tool. Click on the Start button. Click Run. Here type DX, DI, then press Enter. This will open the DirectX diagnostic tool window. The first thing we can see is that our system has DirectX version 6.1a. Windows 98 supported DirectX 9C. We will update it. Let's quickly check the Display tab. Yes, it shows our Voodoo device driver. Let's close it and shut down our system. We will download the DirectX 9C. There is a website by the name, Old Version. Yes, this one. We will download it from here. We will search for DirectX. The first search result is what we are looking for. Scrolling down, we can see all the old versions of DirectX. Well, there are lots of DirectX 9C releases. Honestly, I don't know which one to download. But I would go with the October 2005 release. Because my first PC was bought on October 24, 2003 and it came with up-to-date Windows 98 2nd edition. And I used it with all updates till 2006, before switching to XP. So I think the October 2005 release should work fine. We can anytime try other versions if it gives us any issue. Click on Download Now. It should start downloading. I want to keep the file. The download is completed. Let's transfer it to our Windows 98 virtual machine. This will illustrate how we can easily transfer files from the host machine to our PCM virtual machine. Make sure that the virtual machine is first shut down. Here we have our downloaded DirectX installable. We want it to be transferred to our Windows 98 virtual machine. We will first copy the file. Here is our .vhd dynamic size hard disk that we configured for our virtual machine. We have our file to be transferred and the .vhd drive in the same location on the host machine just for convenience. They can be in 2 different locations. We will mount this .vhd drive on our host machine. Right-click on it and click Mount. It will automatically open the drive in the Windows Explorer. Now we can paste the copied file here. Remember that this .vhd hard drive is actually the C drive of our Windows 98 machine. Now from this PC, we will need to unmount the disk. This E drive is that mounted .vhd drive. Right-click on it. Then, click Eject. Now we can start our virtual machine. Now let's check the C drive. We have our DirectX installable here. In this way, we can easily transfer files from the host machine to the PCM virtual machine. And it will also work the other way around, that is, transferring files from the PCM virtual machine to the host machine. Let's run the DirectX installable. Click Yes to accept the agreement. Here it's asking for a location where it can extract the files. I want to place them in C drive. Well, there is no option to create a new folder here. I will first create a temp folder in the C drive. Now we will select the location. Then click OK. The files will be extracted to the temp folder that we created. Let's have a look at the extracted files. Run the setup file. The installation has started. Accept the agreement and click Next. Click Next. Click Finish. This will restart the system. Let's open the DirectX diagnostic tool again. We can see that the DirectX is now updated to version 9C. We can now delete the temp folder that we created and the DirectX installer file. If we want, we can download and install chipset drivers for our machine. For this demo, we'll not do it. We can now download and play old games that we can't play on our current day's system. Here are a few game demos from 1997 that I ran on this virtual machine. I played on low graphics because my host machine is not powerful enough to emulate 3DFX hardware efficiently. If you have a powerful host machine, then you can download and install more games and play them on high graphics. So this is how we can use PCM emulator and configure an old Windows 98 machine. If you liked the information, then please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your time and patience. Have a nice day.
3, 2, 1, go! Round 1. Fight!